class is this one here, which I like because it's so applicable to how we are and the and our interaction. And I'll just get to it because I want to just get to the end here. Whatever you are filled with will be spilled when you're bumped. Those people in honors, remember that I was the first one that they received. Whatever you're filled with will be spilled when you're bumped. If you are an angry person and someone bumps you, that's exactly what spills out. Akin to a glass of water. If it's filled and you bump that glass of water, water comes out. So what I say, endeavor to be filled with kindness. So when someone bumps you, kindness comes out. Whether the kindness that comes out should be pointed that it doesn't make a difference if they deserve it. Deserving the kindness is not the requirement of administering it. The fact is, if we're filled with kindness, when we're bumped, that's what comes out. If a ship is on the seas and it doesn't know where it's going, any destination will do. That's the first question that every ship that leaves the port has to answer. Wherever it's going, if it has to have a defined port where it's going, or a plane. Wherever you are going, you have to have defined that first, and then you can go through accomplishing it. How is that applicable to you? Well, if you don't have a goal in life, don't be surprised if you end up anywhere. You have to have some goal. Speaking mostly to the seniors now, because they're the ones that's right in front of right now, and the juniors is just right around the corner. And I doubt if there's a freshman here. Okay. So I know there's my sophomore here. I don't know who else is sophomore.
Arlene.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Arlene is sophomore, and Kevin is sophomore. I don't know anyone else. Oh, you're a sophomore. Yeah, that's right. I had you FGAT. Okay. So you have to have a destination. That's the first question that must be answered. The second question is, and that one I said was essential ethics. It's essentially important for you to be able to have that question answered. The second one is how to keep from sinking. How to keep from sinking, and that's what I call personal ethics. The second question that the ship must answer when you being analogized to the ship is how to keep from sinking. Personal ethics. Now there are certain things that we can do, and actually a portion of the address is going to be led toward that, how to keep from sinking. You keep that in mind, because if that's kept in mind, everything will be great. Third, final question, how to keep from bumping into other ships. That's one is called relational ethics. There are some people who their entire goal is, let me see who I can go and upset today. There are some people. Okay? Now, I don't try to do that, and if it comes across as that, then I apologize, but that's not the intention. Finally, before I get into the one that, from the honors class, what do you think is the last one I'm going to do?
The harvest.
Law of the harvest. Okay. Well, before we get to law of the harvest, we talk about keeping your word. When you give somebody your word, it is like taking your life and cupping it in your hand. And should you let that word fall through, you will look down and not find yourself there. We are very careless with our words. We make promises, okay, I promise I will do that. Then we don't do it. And you think, and I say this, I'm not saying this for you to feel guilty at any point, but things start small and then they get large. You here in high school say, I say to my teacher, you say, you have you have in your mind no intentions of this occurring. But you say, teacher, I'll just use myself since Mr. Markman, I am going to do this. And then you just, and you don't get it completed, and then you're like, I just didn't have time. This also lends to the heart of the message that will, the address I want to give to us, about the things that we do say. Okay? If you give someone your word, make sure you keep it. If you're going to give your word, make sure you do something make sure you give your word upon something that's achievable. What we tend to do, and then we don't follow through, is that we overcommit, or we do something far beyond what we can actually achieve. And then we fall through. Make sure that it's manageable, is what I'm saying to you. And if you're not able to complete it, then at least apologize to the person. Keep that in mind. The law of the harvest. I don't know why am I working so slowly today. The law of the harvest, in concluding, have three undeniable truths. Okay? You reap what you sow. It is impossible for you to reap something that you have not sown. Okay? Impossible to sow pear and reap oranges. Impossible. Second, you reap later than you sow. It is impossible for you to reap today what you are sowing tomorrow. Is he speaking in English?
No.
Oh, okay. Third, you reap more than you sow. Goes back to my very first thing about what you're filled with. It is not very hard, and I'm not saying this to be laudable to myself, but it's not very hard for someone to be kind to me. Why? Because I'm reaping what I sow. Because I'm kind to everyone. I try my best to be as kind as possible to anyone. You reap what you sow. You reap later than you sow, and you reap more than you sow. The law of the harvest. Undeniable in its implications, but very, very true. We see it everywhere we look. Okay. Now there are some others, but time doesn't permit for me to go through them. Some of them actually will come up in my, in the address that I'm going to make momentarily. But there's one thing I want to get out of the AP that I want for us to think about very deeply. You do not have to look very hard to find out that our nation is struggling under the pressures that it's faced by the destruction of certain pillars that are set in place for civil society. 4 pillars. Now, when I introduce this in class, I say to you, and it's not hard for you to imagine this. You go over to the new building, and let's say someone's driving crazily under the new building, because some people do. I was there after school, and I saw this guy speeding through the under parking of the new building. Now, imagine if he hits one of those one of those columns, okay? And then that column is damaged. What do you think is going to occur? What do you think is going to occur? Does it necessarily have to collapse? No. But it's compromised. And I can assure you that the county will come in and close down the new building. Why? Because with one pillar gone, what has now all of a sudden occurred, equilibrium-wise, for those people who have had physics, for all the other pillars, they now have to support more weight. And what if now they are beyond the design requirements that the building was given? Then the building becomes unstable. It's now liable to collapse, even though it may not collapse from the accident. But the very fact that one has been compromised opens up the entire building for collapse. Hence, the entire building will be shut down. It's not dissimilar from if someone crashes into the expressway overpass into one of those pillars. That overpass will be closed until it's checked to make sure that it can sustain the weight of all the vehicles that will be going by. Now, what I'm saying is that our our nation is being beset by the destruction of these pillars. And the first pillar that, that's been attacked today is, the first pillar that's been attacked today by some Titanic forces is the pillar of eternity. We struggle with eternal issues. Why? Because it's something that in the wisdom of people that are higher up says that, oh, don't worry about eternity, only now matters. And that sounds very alluring to you and it sounds very good. But I tell you that as innocuous as that is, that's a big problem for how you will face eternal issues. If you don't have a perspective on eternity,